Hi, everyone. So, I am working on some of the resources for our Living Coronavirus Kit, and I wanted to take a moment to talk about a really big topic that I keep seeing come up in our resources, and that's this topic of whether or not a test is accurate. And that's, kind of both in the case of COVID-19 testing, but also in the case of antibody testing for individuals who may have had COVID-19 in the past, and we're wanting to see if maybe they have some immunity today. So, when we are talking about an accurate test, we're talking about two different goals that we expect our tests to meet in science. The first is that our test correctly identify people or things that are positive. In this case, individuals who are positive for COVID-19, if they take a test, we hope that test is coming back as positive. That's goal number one. Goal number two is correctly identifying people or things that are negative. In this case, if someone who didn't have COVID-19 takes the test, that test comes back negative. And we use two terms, sensitivity and specificity, to define these two goals in science. Sensitivity is how we talk about this first goal, the goal of correctly identifying people who are positive. The more sensitive a test is, the more likely it is that we will identify individuals who are true positives. These are individuals who do have in this case, do have COVID-19. They go in, they take a test, and their test comes back positive. That's a good result. That meets goal number one. But not every test is going to be 100% sensitive. And so every once in a while, you will have individuals who do have COVID-19. They take the test, and that test comes back negative, very wrongly, right? And so they end up becoming what's known as a false negative. Fortunately, our tests have been improving, and they get more and more sensitive to hopefully maximize the number of true positives we have and minimize the number of false negatives we have. So how we mathematically define sensitivity is we take the number of true positives, remember the people who did have COVID-19, and when they took a test, the test said, yep, you have COVID-19, and we divide it by all the people in our sample who actually had COVID-19. If we take that number and we multiply it by 100, we get a percentage. And so then we can talk about sensitivity in terms of a percentage. So if you hear that a test is, say, 90% sensitive, what that means is that if you have COVID-19 as an individual and you took a test, then 90% of that time, that test will come back positive, which is typically good. We really like values of at least 90%. Higher is even better, though. Now, on the flip side, talking about goal number two, we're talking about specificity, right? We're talking about correctly identifying people who are negative. And so those individuals who, as a test gets more specific, who it benefits, are those individuals who are true negatives, right? These, in this case, are individuals who didn't have COVID-19. They took a test, and sure enough, the test came back negative. The more specific a test is, the more we can maximize those people who are getting identified. But again, all tests are not 100% specific, and every once in a while, you will have false positives. Individuals who did not have COVID-19 in this case, but their test came back positive. And this is also an undesired result. We don't like this result. We want to try to minimize it, and that's why we also seek tests that are specific. Again, just like sensitivity, specificity, is defined in a very similar way. We take the number of true negatives, and then we divide that by all of the people in the sample who are actually negative, whether or not their test came back negative or positive. If you take that number, you multiply it by 100, you get a percentage. And again, we can talk in terms of, for example, if a test is 90% specific, what it means is that if you don't have COVID-19 and you went and you took a test, 90% of that time, the test will come back negative correctly. So hopefully that gives you some perspective on how we talk about test accuracy in science. So that way, when you're next reading an article or hearing something about how accurate a test is, you can ask whether or not they're talking about sensitivity or specificity and kind of the consequences of that, both for COVID testing and also for antibody testing. Awesome. I will see you later.